To some, it's a business, to others, a hobby, but their dazzling light show never failed to draw you in. Pinball's making a comeback, and we're going to find out why. We're going to talk to business owners, industry professionals, league organisers, and people who just enjoy playing for fun, and maybe find out why pinball is now making its way back into popular culture. This is Audible.
I think there's an upswing because the typical owner of a pinball machine is a middle-aged man who grew up with pinball machines as a child, and they now have the disposable income when you get to mid-40s and maybe a midlife crisis, I don't know, but they have disposable income, and so the hobbyists, they have something that they can go out and buy and enjoy and take up as a hobby. And also the younger generation have discovered computer emulations of pinball machines on iPads and other internet platforms, and I hear a lot of younger people have bought pinball machines based on their enjoyment of the online and internet platforms.
I think that pinball's on the upswing. Mainly, I think it goes in a bit of a cycle. So a lot of people who you'd see here today or at pinball shows are of the generation where they probably played at university or when they were a student, and they probably sort of finished their studies, went off, got a job, had a family, and now children have grown up, they've got time to invest in a hobby again, and now we're also in the digital age where you only have to do a quick Google search for pinball and you've got, you know, pinball news, you've got the league, you've got pinball arcade that you can play on iPad and different platforms, so it's just, you can access all of these different resources so easily now than what you used to sort of 10-15 years ago.
Yeah, so I think there's more people, and a lot more people involved in pinball machines and know about it as well through the internet, through games such as the Pinball Arcade, which is across all the platforms like apps, and it's on the PlayStation, PC, Xbox, all of that. And so the games that are actually on there based on real pinball machines, so a lot of people remember playing these games in their youth. So in the 90s, games such as Twilight Zone and the Addams Family, people can play that at home, and so I think that's got a lot of interest because of that.
Yeah, and I think it leads on, one thing leads to another, and they start researching pinballs, and then they see, oh, they can actually buy the whole pinball. And now being a lot older than before, and probably being in a better economic position, a lot more people can actually afford the real thing, and that's just taking it to the next level, is to get your own pinball in your house. Then again, the internet and forums and tournaments lead to people meeting each other and then going around to seeing their collection, and that encourages them to increase theirs, and yeah, it just goes from there.
Pinball's always had a place in popular culture, and the movie industry is no exception. This scene from the film A Woman in His Life from 1933 shows probably one of the first appearances of pinball in the media.
Well, you made it. Just shot with luck, aren't you?
Skill, my lad, skill.
And of course, everyone knows The Who's famous rock opera, Tommy. I thought what better place to start than the heartland of the industry, America, and with a man who's been involved with pinball for a number of years. Todd Tuckey of TNT Amusements, located in Southampton, Pennsylvania, has made a good name for himself selling games to the home market and for his interesting YouTube videos.
Onto a fake rubber hand. A lot of people said, "You going to do the same gag?" I said, I seriously doubt it. We are above such tackiness. Hello, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking me. I am Todd N. Tuckey, and I'm president of TNT Amusements Incorporated. And we officially began our arcade business in 1979. A lot of people have always wondered how pinball started. It actually goes back to the 30s, before there were actual flippers. They were called pin tables, and they had a series of nails put on a piece of wood, and there were holes in it, and there were numbers written around the holes, and you tried to shake the machine ever so slightly So the ball, the little steel ball, was much smaller than the regular pinball, would go into one of the little holes. The flippers evolved in the late 40s, and these flippers were controlled by the player, who could actually control the destiny of the ball rather than just relying on shaking. But a lot of people remember pinball machines because you shook them, and if you did it too hard, the game would tilt. Pinball machines were always considered, I don't know, scandalous, I guess. As a matter of fact, in several states, including New York, you couldn't win a free game. It was illegal. It was considered gambling. You could only get extra ball or maybe extra time, but you couldn't win anything free until the 90s, believe it or not. For some reason, pinball always be sort of outlawish, and people that played pinball were considered, you know, people covered with tattoos and chewing gum and smoking cigarettes and that sort of thing. However, we have seen a dramatic change of the players of pinball machines over the years. And of course, you must know it's worldwide now, Sam. People are playing all over the world. In the 60s, there were a number of different manufacturers. The big ones were Gottlieb, Williams, Bally, Chicago Coin. They were all making pinball machines back then. There's probably a couple of smaller companies too that also made some. I know Rockola, who made the jukeboxes, also made a pinball machine. But anyway, these machines were scattered pretty much everywhere all over the United States and shipped overseas. They were all mechanical, meaning they had relays, banks of relays inside that would rack up the points, all these moving contacts and switches, and there was one master motor that operated the whole machine. There were no electronics back then at all. The electronics didn't enter the field until the late 70s.
Thanks for the context, Todd. Let's move on.
So Sam, where are we heading to now?
Well, we're heading to the second Midlands League meet of the year. There's 6 of these in a year, and we're just going to head over and interview the league organiser and the host, and maybe a few other people, and just, you know, find out kind of why the hobby's making a bit of a comeback from the people who are involved. There's 6 of these in a year, but this was the closest and easiest to get to, so we're heading down there now. We were headed to Catthorpe to check out the second Midlands League meet of the year, and to talk to Andy Netherwood, who runs Pinball Mania, and Kate Morris, who organises the Midlands League meets. Catthorpe is a lovely scenic English village, but we were more interested in the games.
Yeah, my name's Andy Netherwood. I run the company Pinball Mania, and I'm hosting the league meet today. It's my way of giving something back to the league community.
So I'm Kate Morris. I'm the organiser for the Midlands region, and I'm also the overall marketing coordinator for the UK Pinball League.
It's a long story, but I'll keep it very short.
Okay.
I got into the hobby from being a child going on holiday, and I grew up in the era when there were 10s, 20s of machines lined up in the pier. So I was always fascinated by playing the pinball machines, and I'd spend all my money on the first couple of days straight into the pinball machines, and then I'd spend the rest of the holiday looking for the free credits. So yeah. So when I was old enough and I had disposable income, it's time to buy my first pinball machine, and I had a qualification in electronics, so I thought I can fix this. Bought my first project pinball machine. Took me several months to fix, but eventually that was the first one. It was a Bally Medusa. And after that, there was a second machine, as you know, it's a common story, a third machine.
So I first got into pinball about 4 years ago, where I ended up randomly going to a tournament in Germany. Met a few other people who were already into the hobby. They told me about the league and different shows, different websites I could go to, and came along to one of the league meets and kind of went on from there really. So decided to be coordinator of the Midlands region when the previous organiser wanted to step down, so I volunteered.
Pinball Mania, it's a mixture of spare parts for DIY repairers. So I spend some of the day taking orders, handling orders, dispatching them all over the country and to Europe nowadays, common market. And 3 or 4 days a week I'm on the road, travelling around the country, fixing other people's pinball machines. So I take all my tools and as many spare parts as I can pack into the van, because I want to fix a machine on the day. I don't want to be going backwards and forwards, so I've got to go prepared. Most machines I repair there and then in 2 or 3 hours.
So the UK Pinball League is split into various regions. This is the Midlands region here today, and this is the second meet of the season we've had, so we've had one so far. We usually have sort of upwards of 6 machines for players to play, and everybody records their score and see where they end up at the end of the day. So at the end of the season we see how everyone's done compared to everyone else, and then the top, in the Midlands it's 4 people go into play into a final into the UK, at the UK Pinball Party, which is usually held in Daventry every year in August. So yeah, it's a great way to play some competitive pinball and meet a lot of other people.
The number of visits I do has increased over the years. More and more people have bought into pinball, but what I do find is some of those people that that ask me to visit them to repair their machines soon become proficient in repairing their own machines with my guidance. So although I take on lots of new customers, I do lose quite a few along the way who decide that they're going to carry out their own repairs. But again, as I said, I can supply those with spare parts. But because so many more people are coming on stream, there are lots of people who don't want to know anything about repairing a pinball machine. They're quite happy to have me come out and service. Some people don't even want to change a light bulb or clean the glass. It's that simple. So I've still got plenty of work. The numbers are increasing.
So the Pinball League and the regions, we rely on volunteers basically for hosting meets, to use their own personal collection, and a lot of people in the pinball community are able to give their time and space and machines for everyone else to use, and I wasn't really in a position to be able to do that, so instead I wanted to just use my skills to help. So that means organising things, and that's what I'll do. And a lot of other people will maybe bring a machine to a show and maybe host an event like this. But for me, it's more giving my time and resources in a different way.
So from what we've heard, Andy's business is doing well, and Kate says that league meets are an excellent venue to meet other players. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing some work on this Johnny Mnemonic pinball machine. They made 2,756 of these units in 1995. This was a point when Williams were making mainly games based around films, and the film itself was meant to be like the summer blockbuster of the year. You've got Keanu Reeves in it, and people like that, and it didn't do so well, basically. It was a bit of a flop. But the game, a lot of people love this game because it's designed by a chap called George Gomez, who's known for kind of fast games. Great if you love ramps. It's really fast, got excellent flow, really challenging game, and this one needs some love. It's not in terrible condition, it plays actually quite well. But after 20 years of being rooted on location and on site and, you know, being played, it needs some love. So we're going to strip it down, we're going to clean it, we're going to replace all the rubbers, we're going to replace a lot of other parts as well, but as we get to that, I'll discuss that. So this is the last time you're going to see this game as it is now. final trip was down to Beckenham to meet with Chris and Jason, who have been enthusiasts for a long time.
The first game I ever bought in my collection was in Australia in 2000, and I didn't have I had a bit of a limited budget, and so my budget at the time was $1,000, and I hunted down high and low. It was mostly those days we were looking in the newspaper. This was sort of before the internet really took off, and eventually I tracked down a roller games, and I went around there to have a look at it, and it was a player's condition. It's definitely been on location, but for me, I didn't care. It was just a pinball machine. I was just excited to get it back home up 3 flights of stairs into my flat at the time. And so that's where it took off for me, but at the time I could just afford one and had enough room for one machine. You can probably see I've got the Metallica Master of Puppets there. That's a limited edition machine. I don't have much room for many machines as it is, so I've gone for a quality over quantity approach. I've always been a fan of rock music, and bands like AC/DC and Metallica have always interested me, and so I missed out on the AC/DC title when that came out a couple of years earlier. So when they announced the Metallica run of the limited edition, I thought I'd jump on that, and half the fun was actually pre-ordering it, building up the hype, chatting with everyone else on the internet that had pre-ordered it, and 2 or 3 months down the track then I had it at home, and yeah, I was very happy with it. I've been raised in Perth and moved around quite a lot as well, so spent a bit of time in the eastern states over near Sydney as well. So as a kid we were about 9 years old, living near Sydney, and we happened to live across the road from a bowling alley. That was probably the first time when I first laid eyes on any pinball machines as such, and just remember walking in there and just seeing these huge colourful boxes, flashing lights with this ball bouncing around, and it was just, I think it was just love at first sight really, and I just was so attracted to it. And then they also had video games, so I used to play those as well, but it was just, for me, it's just all about the pinball machines.
Yeah, the arcades was where it was happening. There wasn't too many places for young people to go, but the whole package of the lights, the noise, the ball, the flashing, it draws you in. And like you said with the computer games were nice, but they were big boxes with a small screen on it, whereas pinball was this massive device, and it's all physical as well, it's not virtual. And I think that's what drew me in.
And there's a social aspect there as well.
Yeah, meeting up with people after
mates,
school.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and the competition, like who's the best at which pinball. Yeah.
Happy days.
So you've heard it from the people involved. Take a hint from J-Bone.
Don't be a zombie, play pinball.